Hi, and welcome to Cat Run Figures. I'm your host, Caitlin, and today we are going to be reviewing Nancy Drew and the Hardy Boys, The Big Lie, issue 1. So, first off, I just want to point out how gorgeous this cover is. This is actually cover A, believe it or not, so, go out there and pick this up. If nothing else, just because the cover's fantastic. But when we open on into the comic, we get an introduction to Bayport, the home of the Hardy Boys. And they're discussing the fact that Bayport was basically meant to be on a postcard. It's beautiful, it's slow-paced, and it's great for tourists. And the people that live there feel like they need to fit in to that perfect postcard appeal. They need to all be do-gooders and just fit into that image, that perfect scenic image. Well, then a murder happens. So when we're first introduced to the Hardy Boys, both Frank and Joe, they're actually in police custody being questioned about a murder that is believed that they committed. The unfortunate business being that the person that was murdered was actually their father. So, of course, the cops are roughing him up and really putting him through the ringer. And we find out that their family's been through a lot the last couple months. They went from having basically perfect lives. They did well in school. Their parents were held in very high esteem throughout the community. They had no problems getting girlfriends. They even had great part-time jobs in a local restaurant. But everything was great until their father was accused of basically being a dirty cop. And things just started getting worse and even worse. And the town did not stand by them. They believed all the rumors, and it got bad for their mother. It got bad for their dating lives. They lost their jobs, and even the two boys started to fight it out. They had their own doubts as to what exactly their father was guilty of. And then a horrible night happened. The night their mother found their father dead. And what should have been looked at as a horrible suicide is now being looked at as the Hardy Boys did it. So the police are pestering the boys to try to find out exactly what they had done the night that their father was murdered. So the two boys had both crashed a party. Of course, there was a huge event going on that night. And the cops are wanting to know all the details about it. All they know, of course, as to what happened during that party is the boys disappeared for a small amount of time, around an hour or so. And then when they were seen once more, they got into a fist fight in front of the entire party. That's the only thing they know for sure. So, of course, the boys, neither one's biting. They didn't kill their father, and neither one of them is stupid enough to go along with these tactics the police officers are using. I mean, they're doing the whole bad cop, I'm gonna rough you up kind of situation. I mean, Frank even gets backhanded and gets kind of knocked around a couple times. But then there's Joe. And Joe is very much Cool Hand Luke in this situation, where his brother's getting knocked around in the other room. Joe's laid back, eased at will, and I love when the detective actually cracks his knuckles and asks if he needs to use other methods to convince Joe to start talking. Joe basically looks at him and says, "Are you sure you want to do that, Peterson, with me?" And the cop backs off. But, yeah, so getting on into the night, Joe starts to talk about what exactly he did to this police officer. So he's talking about the fact that he crashed the party. He was just kind of there because it was the thing to do. And then one of the few friends that they had left after the whole scandal with their father, the accusations, and, you know, was he or wasn't he guilty kind of thing. Anywho, his friend led him to a room. And he said he wanted to show him something interesting. Well, that showing him something interesting was actually showing him to his brother. And he showed him and he basically told Frank the same thing to get him there. And then we find out that there was someone else in that room. While their friend stood guard outside, there was another person who came in through a secret passageway behind an old grandfather clock. And the boys refer to her as a little birdie. And we know it's a her because you see an outline of a skirt. Remember that, little birdie. So, you know, the cops are saying, so there was a dame in there. And he said, "Oh, did I say there was a girl in there?" No, just a bird. And, you know, go through the whole, "Oh, I'll bite." What did the bird tell you? Apparently the bird told them lots of things. Things about the cops, things about themselves, things they didn't even know. And basically he tells nothing to the cops. Neither brother does, because there really is nothing to tell. They were in that room, they got into a disagreement, they left that room, and then they got into a fist fight. And then they went home to find their mother had found their father's body. That was their whole night. So the two boys are released because, honestly, they have nothing on them. And the one asks his brother whether or not he's planning on going home and seeing Mom. And he says no, he thinks he'll go for a walk. He says, "Yeah, good idea." And the two of them split up. And it kind of pains me because there's clearly a pretty big wedge there. And you find out that Joe was starting to doubt his father. And that was actually why the two boys got into the fist fight, why they're still fighting now. I mean, it's very hard for them. And, of course, the rumors have gotten out all over town. So Joe is sitting at a local diner, drinking a soda, and there's a couple kids there that are whispering about him, saying that he killed his old man. And then he gets a harassing text message calling him a killer. And he's about ready to leave, and then he gets another text message. And it's from someone called Birdie in his phone. And that person is telling him to meet up with them and where to meet him. So he goes to the old lobster shack that he and his brother used to work at. And he finds his brother there waiting for him. And their old boss, of course, there's some issues there. But, you know, moving on. He tells them that someone's been waiting for them for a little while now. They go into a back room and they open the door. And they see none other than Nancy Drew herself. And she asks them what exactly had gone on during their whole questioning. And they tell her that the cops think that they did it. And she says, good. That's exactly what we need them to think. so we can move forward and get to know exactly what we need to know to find out who really murdered your father. So I'm really excited for this series. I'm a pretty big Nancy Drew Hardy Boys fan from way back. My mother kind of instilled that in me at a young age, and that was basically like the thing when she was younger. But I really loved this. I loved the art throughout. This felt like an old Nancy Drew or Hardy Boys book. All of the imagery throughout. It's clearly set in, or at least I think it looks like it's set in a different timeline. I mean, of course, they've got like modern technology and stuff, but it just kind of feels a little bit more like a 50s or a 60s timeline. Old school. Sorry, we have a guest camera person today. She wanted to be in here for this one. So I really enjoyed the hell out of this. Give me a like if you like this review. Comment below and tell me whether or not you picked up Nancy Drew and the Hardy Boys, The Big Lie, issue 1. Tell me what you thought about it. Subscribe to my channel for more comic book content, or check out any of the older videos I have up for offer here on Cat Run Figures. And until next time, I'm your host, Caitlin. Bye.